Hey guys, Will or Lolio here, and today I'm showing you the upper Blackrock Spire revamp, which is now available for testing on the beta. So for the purposes of testing, they're scaling everyone to level 100, because I believe it is a level 100 only dungeon. We're doing it on normal mode, but there is also a heroic mode, not currently available for testing. And they scaled everyone to around item level 600, according to a post by Watcher, which actually seems relatively low. I don't think we'll be at item level 600 when we're actually at level 100, considering we're at like 580 on heroic mode Siege of Orgrimmar right now, so I think we'll definitely be well above that. But the dungeon, it definitely still seems to be a work in progress overall, but I just kind of want to give my thoughts on it currently, as it is right now. So I would say that, from my experience doing it a couple times, it's excellent overall. When I look at a dungeon revamp, I try to see if it kept the feel of the original while updating mechanics and the storyline. For example, I think Dead Mines was a very successful revamp, whereas Shadowfang Keep was not. I mean, they forgot the most iconic part of that dungeon, the Worgen. Whereas Blackrock Spire, on the other hand, this one feels very thematically similar to the original, but it has a lot more in-depth mechanics, the graphics look a lot better even though the layout is the same, and it has an updated story involving the Iron Horde. As far as difficulty goes, which I think is what a lot of people are wondering, there's definitely a lot of room to show your skill as a player. There's lots of interrupts, stuns are very useful, and in some places I think CC like Sap or Polymorph that'll probably be needed on Heroic. We didn't end up needing very much CC on Normal, but some of the pulls did get pretty hectic, and I was popping all of my cooldowns on some of them. Admittedly, like I said, our gear is very low, and I expect we'll be above item level 600 at level 100, so maybe it won't be as hard as it is now. But still, I hope that the heroic one is tuned at least as challenging as this one. I got a feeling of Cata Heroics while doing this one. It really made me feel like, wow, that we're actually doing a hard dungeon, which I loved. I loved Cata Heroics, I love Burning Crusade Heroics, and Pandaria dungeons, well, they were terrible from the beginning. I mean, they were jokes the entire time, even in questing gear. Nobody thought Pandaria dungeons were hard. I really fucking miss challenging dungeons that aren't challenge modes. A lot of people seem to believe that challenge modes fill the niche of hard dungeons, but they don't for one very important reason. They don't reward any sort of progression. Yeah, they rewarded cosmetic gear, which in some cases people didn't like, and we will have those again in Warlords. But when you have hard dungeons, it allows you to have more content for various players, because right now, everyone is doing raiding. Before Pandaria, a lot of people just did dungeon content, and when they made dungeons way too easy, that pretty much eliminated that, and they forced those players into LFR, which is terrible. And I think by having harder dungeons, you can actually have dungeons be the end game for some players again, which I think is great, and I absolutely love that. Not everyone needs to raid, not everyone wants to raid. I think that having dungeons being an endgame is okay. One of the things I like about Blackrock Spire is that there's actually quite a bit of trash, and it's actually fairly difficult, considering this is normal mode. I mean, it's not impossible, but for normal mode it's pretty hard. The first pull, actually, can be a bit rough, considering there's quite a few mobs placed together, and if you pull a little bit too much, you're gonna have a problem. I enjoyed how the trash actually has some mechanics that you have to follow. For example, the first 2 packs, they summon this rallying banner, which I believe buffs them, and it possibly summons more adds. I couldn't quite tell what was going on, but it definitely needs to die quickly, or your group is going to take a lot of damage, so make sure to target that first, focus it down, and the sentry guns are also a priority, because they do a lot of damage as well. The first boss was really undertuned, and the mechanic felt very weak to me. It pretty much had one mechanic, definitely the least impressive part of the dungeon. So he activates some conduits, which I believe they increase his damage, maybe they make him take less damage too, maybe they even give him more abilities, but the deal was you just have one player go around and click on them and deactivate them, and that was pretty much the fight. He also seemed to be summoning some saw blades, which I couldn't tell if they were doing any damage, didn't seem to do much. At least the visuals for the conduit effect looked pretty nice. I mean, it was visually somewhat impressive, but overall the fight was really easy and not very interesting. The trash later on in the instance has a lot of frontal cone abilities. The Draconid guys, they spawn these lines of fire, so it's important to face them away from your group and move out of it if you can. The fire line is similar to the Yongle guys on Timeless Isle, but it does a lot less damage. Like, that'll one-shot you, but this, if you're a tank, it seemed to take about 1/3 of my HP when I stood in it, which was rare. And it does disorient you if you get hit by it, so make sure to move out of it. There's no reason to get hit by it, you have a ton of time. it's like 3 seconds or so, so just move out of it. Don't make your healer have to work. The Maloriac-looking boss pulls with 2 of the Draconids, and actually the hardest part of the fight is avoiding the double fire lines while you're slowed, because the boss casts a slow on you, which is kind of annoying, but I believe you can actually interrupt this, so try and have an interrupt rotation, probably on heroic, because it seemed like 1 interrupt wasn't enough, and he also puts a hot on himself, which can probably be purged, and towards the end of the fight, he puts some green shit on the floor, which you can move him away from. I don't think it actually buffs him, but you don't want to stand in it. Not the hardest fight mechanically, but there is some room to shine and show your skill, just by interrupting, and, it actually has some mechanics to it, and it was fun overall. I enjoyed it. Some of the harder pulls in the instance are actually towards the 3rd boss. It's where you first encounter the ogre mobs, which they again have a frontal cone smash ability, which is really easy to avoid. You get a big spell effect, no reason to stand in it. There's some large packs of Iron Horde orcs past the first ogre guy. Nothing too special on them, probably some interrupts on the casters, but the melee guys do hit fairly hard in this item level, so watch how many you pull at a time, and there's several packs you absolutely do not need to pull. You can just avoid them entirely, so if you're not, farming trash mobs, just avoid them. When you make it to the 3rd boss, it's the Gauntlet event, where Rend Blackhand and his mount, Gith, used to be. Now we have an Iron Horde orc riding a Sky Reaver. I don't really remember a lot of mechanics for this, especially on the Gauntlet part. It was just AoE all the trash as it comes out. The boss himself, you have to kill his mount, and then you kill him, and I think he summoned a flaming Ravager like Nazgrim that was really easy to avoid. Really nothing too special on this. He does hit fairly hard, but not a lot of mechanics. Pretty easy fight overall. The trash on the way to the 4th boss is fairly difficult. There's lots of ogres, along with some proto-drakes. So the ogres will try and run to these whelp cages and attempt to release all the whelps. And as far as I could tell, stunning them stopped them from doing it for a little bit. It delayed the opening, but it didn't actually prevent them from doing it. It doesn't cancel it. As soon as they wake up from the stun, they'll try and do it again. And you can't interrupt it as far as I could tell. So what we did is we just grabbed all the mobs, let them open the gate, and we AoE'd them down. There was a lot of damage going out, but with proper cooldowns, it's not too bad. You shouldn't wipe. Maybe have a healer pop some cooldowns, have the tank pop some, and really shouldn't have a problem. It's just a lot of AoE. If you're familiar with the original Blackrock Spire, you may remember the Beast, or Beauty, from Blackrock Caverns. Well, here we have a new Corehound boss, Son of the Beast, which he's unfortunately pretty small compared to the namesake. I noticed he's actually still using the old Corehound model, even though a new one was data mined a while ago by MMO Champion. They also data mined a new Corehound mount. I hope it'll drop from him. I mean, where else would it come from? The boss is fairly easy overall, just more lines of fire to avoid, which seems to be a recurring theme in this dungeon, and he also has a 4 or 5 second fear, which you can't really do anything about. Actually, our feral druid got feared through the wall, which you should probably try and avoid. I believe it's the back wall near where he spawns. I'm sure it'll get fixed pretty soon, but if you're doing this on the beta right now, try and avoid getting feared through the wall, because it is pretty annoying having to wait for him to run back through the instance. The next boss, Ragewing, is a proto-drake. You fight him on a pretty small bridge. At first, he just flies up next to it and attacks the tank. Kinda reminded me of Ultraxian. Make sure to be in melee range, or he's gonna start attacking everybody else. So, I actually tried facing him away, because he was gonna do this breath move, but it seems pretty futile to do so, because if you move only a few steps away, he'll just turn and hit the healer. So, really, just kinda stand there. He does have a flame breath, which you want to avoid if you can, but it's way better to stand in it and get hit by it than to have him attack your healer. He also summons a bunch of whelps that you have to AoE down, which they don't really do much, and he flies around and starts spewing fireballs you can avoid. They put a circle on the ground, kind of like the deck defender thing, so just move out of those. Near the end of the fight, he landed on the platform, and we just burned him down. It was fairly easy overall, but the damage is pretty high, especially on the flame breath, so if you have to stand in it, pop a cooldown. You shouldn't have to, but if you do, it just pops up. You should be fine. The trash after Ragewing is made up of some proto-drakes and some Blackrock orcs. Again, more fire lines from the drakes. I don't know why they decided to make that the one mechanic of this dungeon is lines of fire on the ground, but it's on every trash pack. Make sure to face the drakes away. The orcs seem to have this unavoidable AoE ability as well that hit fairly hard, so you want to avoid any damage you can. There's only a few packs before the final boss. You can probably pull 2 at a time with no problems, but if you want to be safe, just pull 1. Won't take that long because there's not very many packs. So Zayla is the last boss here. I guess she survived the fall off Galakras in the Siege of Orgrimmar, and it's finally time to put her down, because she is now one of the Iron Horde's main military leaders, I guess. And this is definitely the most difficult boss fight in the dungeon, deservedly so. We actually wiped on her the first attempt. So her abilities, well, she's got a knockback, which is obnoxious, and if you're the tank, you want to make sure to put her in a spot where you're not going to be knocked off the edge. If you're knocked off, it's insta-death. You can't be battle res. It's a really long fall into the lava, and you're fucked. So do not get knocked off if you can. That's probably priority number 1 overall, so try and avoid that. During the fight, she summoned some adds, which aren't really a very big threat, but the main thing to watch out for here is the proto-drakes, that they come down and they breathe fire off the side of the platform. So they're unattackable. Just try and move out of the fire. The real strategy here, the difficulty of the fight, comes from both avoiding the knockback and avoiding the fire lines while doing damage to the boss. It's not too hard, but it is a little bit hectic because the knockback, well, we don't have any timers right now because there's no add-ons, so if you're not timing the knockback, you're not going to know when it happens, because like instant cast, you don't see any effect for it. It's just, whoa, shit, I just got knocked back, so you want to make sure you're always in a good position while avoiding the fire. And the fire does do a lot of damage, so you can't just sit in it, you have to move out of it. The damage is fairly high overall, but really most of the damage is going to be from the flame breaths, so if you're avoiding that and avoiding the knockback, you should have no problems, should be able to down the boss. Overall, I think this dungeon is a great revamp of Blackrock Spire. I absolutely love the feel of it. It reminds me of the original a lot, and I can't wait to do it on Heroic and Challenge mode. It feels tuned probably a little bit tight for normal mode, but that could just be me and the other guys in my group not being used to all the beta changes. Definitely seems harder than Pandaria dungeons though, which I know a lot of people have been looking for harder dungeons because Pandaria dungeons were garbage. Anyway, that's all from me for now. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.